God Morgan, and happy Tuesday to you. I hope this week has started off wonderfully and that you are gaining intellect and wisdom and, of course, the energy of love because it's everywhere. So I hope that you will continue to absorb all of this energy and that I am sending as well as many others. Before we get started today, I want to say huge shout out to my wonderful friends and family there at New Reality TV. newrealitytv.com has a plethora of perspectives that can help you obtain or maintain your mental health through the embrace of spirituality and spiritual connection. So a wonderful collection of opportunity for growth and understanding. So I hope you will check them out. Again, newrealitytv.com. As always, our show is broadcast in both audio format on all the audio podcast platforms as well as the videos. So if you haven't had a chance, please like, follow, subscribe. Hit the button for notifications. That way you're advised each and every morning, each and every weekday morning when we broadcast this, hopefully, this little bit of ancestral illumination to help us to embrace who we are and certainly where we're going. So hopefully you will do that. If you do have any coin jingling around in your purse with nothing better to do, also feel free to hit up the tip jar. We're always in search of donations, as every little bit goes to helping us to produce this message both here on the internet and as well out in the real world. So check all of that out. If you are needing an ear to bend, someone to listen and maybe help provide a little bit of guidance, by all means, please check out my website at norsewhispers.com/coaching, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you and hopefully give you the intellect you need to move forward in your life and be excited and happy. Just keeping that happiness going. So hopefully you will join me there. Today we're talking about the Norse god Tyr. Now, for those of you who may not be versed in this, the Norse god Tyr actually began recognition in the days before the Norse of fame and lore. He began actually being recognized under the Germanic tribes as they migrated north away from the Celtic south. At the time, they kind of migrated up into Germany. And my family's ancestry puts them migrating into the kind of the northeastern corner of Germania before actually crossing the Elbe River into the Jutland of Denmark, where they would go on to become the Danes of fame and legend. The Danes, of course, began as a Germanic tribe deep in the heart of Germania. They would battle almost constantly, be in a battle against the Roman Empire as the Roman Empire continued its expansion there in the there throughout the Iberian Peninsula and then up into Europe. So they would eventually hold them there. Kind of the northeast corner of Germania would actually never fall to the Romans. And so the Romans would sweep out and go to the UK, of what is today the UK, where they would face an uphill battle as well. And eventually the south or the I believe it was called the Western Empire of Rome, would eventually fall, and then kind of retract all the way back to Rome, where other tribes would fall in and become part of what is the rest of Europe. In the recognition of Tyr, we have two main threads of understanding of who he was and what he represented. The first being that of justice and law. When Tyr was first being recognized there in the Germanic tribes, he was recognized as the god of justice and the god of law. He was willing to stand up against the inequities of existence and make sure that things remained in balance, which to me has always come to represent the balance in my life, is honor and all of these traits that I have, is to maintain this level of balance between my spiritual self and my physical self. It's super important for my mental health is when I have balance. Often as a life counselor and a life coach, I'm working with hundreds of people. Sometimes things get kind of out of balance. Why? Because a lot of times as an empath, I absorb the energies of the people with whom I'm working. And when I do that, of course, it really tips my scales. And so I need some time and step back and pray and consider. And one of the things that I think about when I'm doing this is I'm going to think of the god Tyr, who understood and helped us to find a balance in our existence. It was so critical that we could do this, right? And we could find this balance, and that way we could live a happier, more stress-free life. So justice was a very important part, a very important, maybe not justice in our community, justice in society as a whole, but if nothing more than just justice within the body, within the mind of the individual. What's just for us, right? Just making that connection allowed us to now eliminate some of these stresses in our lives. And remember, we're just going to remove the silt from our throughput here, right? We're going to just pull that out, and we're going to experience the ability to now still maintain some cognitive space when we're facing more large trauma, right? More psychological trauma. The second thing that Tyr was really known for, and that he would go on to become much more recognized in Norse mythology and Norse legend and lore, was this idea of courage, being the god that was willing to put his hand in the mouth of Fenrir, that Fenrir would be chained by this new chain that was crafted by the dwarves to hold him until Ragnarok, right? So big chain. And he said, the only way you're going to put that chain on me is one of you are willing to put your hand in my mouth. And of course, Tyr volunteered. And of course, in Fenrir fashion, he would bite off Tyr's hand. But Tyr didn't fear this. He knew, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was getting involved in, and yet he did it anyway. A lot of people say that fear is the absence of confidence, or it's the absence of these other things. And no, fear is not the absence of courage. Fear is the test of courage. When we have a fear, and a fear comes into our life as energy, we have a choice. We can either succumb to it, right? And we say, nope, that's too much for me. Or we can say, I'm petrified, but I'm going to move forward. I'm going to continue moving forward. I'm going to continue to evolve and grow. We have that choice. That's what's so beautiful about this, is that we have a choice. We could choose to succumb to fear and allow it to overrun us and just keep us in check, keep us in a box that other people may be trying to do. Remember, fear is a tool that can be used as a weapon. It's a weaponized emotional state where we become afraid. This is how bullying works. This is how intimidation works. This is how many of these other things, unwanted things, work. They kind of rely on putting in enough fear into your emotional processor that your emotional processor surrenders, right? And then, frequently we run into people that we try to intimidate, and it's kind of like talking to a fruit bowl, right? We're trying to intimidate them and be tough and trying to, do all that. And they are absolutely oblivious to this. Why? Because they have control of their fear, of this energy that's coming into them that they don't want, that doesn't play a value in their lives. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, but that's just a big, strong fighting people, and they're capable of doing it. No, it's not. Courage is the ability to move forward, to not allow fear to stop us from going forward to something that we want. Now, fear can also be, well, maybe I should reconsider this. I should reconsider looking at this, whatever this is. Maybe I should do it a different way. Maybe I should do a different thing. All of these questions, right? Or fear is a way to keep you from what you want to do. Now, fear can be both extrinsic, i.e. bullying of some sort, some type of fear mechanism being imposed upon you. I think of the colonization of the world and some of those teachings that I used to be subscribed to that say, oh, you should fear sin, you should fear this and fear that. And when we have to use fear as a tool of motivation, we've lost, right? We've lost. Fear is not a tool for motivation. Fear is a tool for deterioration. That's what it does, right? So, if we need fear to motivate someone, we're not motivating them at all, right? We're beyond that. So, just think of fear as being unwanted, all right? And think of fear as being something that is trying to manipulate you. Now, in some cases, we may want to evaluate this energy that's coming in and say, well, wait a minute. Is this really what I want to do? Do I really want to continue a path here? Or do I alter my path? But that's a decision I'm going to make. Not because of the fear, but because it doesn't make sense to go any further, right? We can alter our path anytime we want. So maybe it's time to alter the path. That could certainly be true. But think about what it is you want. This all comes down to, whenever we think of fear and its effect on our mental health, we have to think about what our values are. And that's where it all comes back to this well of the self. Now, my great-grandfather taught me this, and I am so happy he did, because it very much visualizes how we are constructed. And he described ourself as a well, as a deep well. And half of it, of course, is filled with water, right? And at the bottom of this well is a mosaic of beautiful rocks, beautiful stones make up the bottom of this well. Now, these rocks at the bottom of our well represent all of our values: honor, integrity, hospitality, truthfulness, industrialness, all of these things that make us who we are. Now, in some cases, we find that life is coming at us really fast and we lose track of those values. This is when the water of the well is murky. It's been stirred up, right? Life has thrown some stuff at us, and we've got really murky water, so it's hard to see our values at the bottom of this well. Now, we also have much of this well is built, or I should say, several of these stones are built based on rocks that others have put in our well. Our parents, teachers, certain authority figures we've had in our lives, chieftains, chiefs, many different people who we've given mentally, we've given them a level of authority to do this. We've said, you know what, I believe in this person. I'm trusting that they know what's best for me. And so we allow them to put in their rocks, their values, and it kind of then filters up through us, right? So it becomes who we are. Their values we then adopt. Now, many of these rocks, these values, have been passed down generation after generation after generation. Certain things, honor, integrity, those types of things are passed down, and they simply exist in our well. Now, those two I recommend highly keeping, but there are some values, some inert values that exist within our well for one reason or another, whether it be one of these authority figures have added it, or whether we've found it in our travels. We've discovered this beautiful rock and we're going to put it in there. Rocks like superior thinking, superiority. One of those major rocks. It's a cool rock, but it covers all of our other rocks, right? So it covers some of our other rocks, because believe it or not, superiority thinking is, albeit very thin rock, it's a very big rock. So it covers up some of our own inside values. Some of the values that we hold dearly are now covered by this big rock. So the well of self is a wonderful visualization that allows us to see exactly what rocks we have. What are our rocks? Where did we get them? What level of authority did we give to allow this rock to exist? These are all questions that we're going to ask our whole lives. We're going to discover that maybe one value that we really held really tight when we were younger no longer applies as we age here on the physical plane. And we can grow out of rocks. The superior thinking is a wonderful one, where generationally we've been given this rock of superiority. It's typically where it comes from, and we have a choice. We can remove that rock. We just pick it up and toss it, right? So these rocks are certainly flexible. We can remove and add and remove and modify and rearrange to our heart's content. It's our well. It's our well that we're modifying, that we're keeping maintenance of, right? And we can also defend the wellhead, right? So if somebody tries to throw one of these values, one of these rocks into our well, we can deny it, like the old basketball thing. We kind of push it away before the shot ever gets to the basket, right? So this is a maintenance. Now, what the key to this whole thing is, as we understand our well and what's in our well, and we become confident in what's in our well, what we're going to see is a behavior that represents that, in that fear no longer has a power. Okay? It kind of just drifts away. Why? Because again, someone's trying to throw a rock in our pool and we're denying it. Okay? We're ignoring their energy and thereby deflecting this from affecting our mental health, right? So we're able to manage what's going on in our mind based on what the values are in our hearts. And this is super, 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 super critical when it comes to maintaining or obtaining mental health. Mental health is all about maintaining the balance. It's about, our challenges and our support mechanisms. And then we have to have the equal amount of support that we do this thrust of challenges that we are going to experience in this physical life. Remember, your physical life is all about these experiences that you have and your emotional responses to them. This goes all the way back to the story of Olothin drinking from the well of Erd, where Olothin, the god Olothin, was needing wisdom, was seeking wisdom. That's what he always is after, is the embrace of new threads of wisdom. And in his travels, he would uncover the well of Erd that was protected by the Norse sisters, the three sisters, referred to as the Fates in the Greek mythology. But in the legends of the Norse, we represented them as Erd, Skald, and Verdande. Now, Verdande, being the youngest or the future, she actually sewed a tapestry of our life as we lived it. So when we leave this physical form, we appear before Skald. Skald would then look at the tapestry that Verdande had sewn. And Verdande sewn a detailed tapestry of not the events in our lives, not our conquerings and our victories and our defeats and this, that, and that. She didn't sew that. She sewed how we responded emotionally to those events in our lives. No record of the event, per se, other than how we reacted to it or responded to it. Remember, reaction is emotional, responding is intellectual. So, as we responded to the events in our lives, those responses would then be sewn into the tapestry. And overall, we would then see this pattern of applying our values to our responses. If our responses kind of matched up with, what our values were, then we lived a good life, according to the Norse sisters. The key was that we lived our lives according to a set value. Now, in the Norse believed in the 9 noble virtues. You can find those online anywhere. But chief among them, obviously, honor, truthfulness, courage, those types of things are right at the top of the list, which would then bring us all the way back now to Tyr, who represented courage. Courage in the face of adversity. Remember, courage isn't doing the right thing behind a keyboard. It's not being an internet soldier. It's about being in with people and being willing to be vulnerable and certainly leading our lives with an emotional experience. That's what life is. That's what this physical existence means. It's about these emotional experiences that we have in this physical form. That's what it is. And so, as we lead our lives going forward, casting aside that fear of preventing us from being who and what we really are, right? You shouldn't ever have a need or a requirement to fit in someone else's box. Remember, you can't be measured by someone else's standard. You're a unique individual. You've traveled a unique path. You started off in a unique position, and now you're perfectly along this trajectory between birth and death. You're in the perfect place. You're doing things right. Now, all you have to do is stop disbelieving in yourself. When we begin to believe in those values, and that's what these values are going to do for us, okay? They're going to install this bar now that we can measure ourselves against. And what's that going to do? It's going to provide some relief. Now we don't have to worry or concern ourselves or fill the silt with these ideas of meeting someone else's criteria, someone else's measurement stick. We don't have to worry about that anymore because we're living congruently. Okay? And that is really critical to stress relief, to anxiety relief, to bringing depression back up, getting rid of depression. When we begin to live congruently in our authentic space, we begin to find mental relief. And yes, some people say, well, you know, it's a challenge battling against all these people who would say something else. Yes, it is. But you can do it. You're strong enough, you're knowledgeable enough in that you can be yourself. Just be you. That, my friends, is more than plenty for everything that we're going to accomplish in our lives. We got to remember, Ura says that nothing, Ura being the rune of Ura, Ura says that nothing happens out of season. In other words, things that come into your life will come into your life when you're ready to receive them. That's what's going to happen. When your mind and your heart is ready and can absorb this pain or this struggle or this challenge, the universe will present itself to you. So know that as you face challenges in your life and you say, oh man, this is so much, the universe thinks that you're ready for it. And we're here to learn the emotional responses that we can then go forward and learn from and grow from. And that's really a key to understanding our trajectory through life. Right? We will travel many roads that may seem bumpy, I should say. And it's up to us to see our way through. Be courageous, be who you are, and remember, there are many people out here that love and respect you just the way you are. All right, we will see you again tomorrow when we contemplate Wotan or Wotan and his quest for wisdom. In the meantime, you have a wonderful Tears Day, and we will see you again tomorrow where we will talk about Wotan. Gotta wait. Thank you.